All right, so I want to recount Jordan's biggest win. And in my opinion, I feel like it was the 15 Masters. What do you think is your biggest win?
That was probably the biggest life changer for me. That's fair.
What do you think was the most important win or the biggest win other than the 15 Masters?
I'd say the 17 British Open, the Masters and the Open are my two favorite tournaments in the world. They always have been. So that was special. And I had it, I was leading, then I lost it and came back. So it's kind of an exciting roller coaster round. Um, I'd call that, yeah, that's probably fair to say for me.
The one thing that I was so impressed with on the 15 Masters, aside from the unbelievable play, was how you dealt with post round, the press conference, all the media stuff, how you address the members of Augusta. I was blown away. You're 21 years old at the time, and it was just so eloquent. Did you prep for that, or was that just how you felt at that moment? You just rolled?
When I think back, it was more I was trying to give myself some space. I was trying to be short, you know, grateful but humble. Nothing's happened yet. Yes, I'm leading, but anything happens in our sport. It's played over 4 days, and you wake up on the wrong side of the bed one day, and you got the lefts, and it takes you 5 holes to figure. You just never know what happens, and um, so I think I just remember just giving myself a little bit of space, just saying, recognizing ahead of time what the questions were going to be. I had been there the year before on Sunday, had the lead on Sunday and lost in 2014 to Bubba. I knew that was going to be brought up, and just stuff that, if I could just turn it all positive, I walk out of that press room. And a lot of times you walk out of press rooms thinking, man, I walked into there feeling good about myself. I walk out maybe a little skeptical. And I remember just thinking, as positive as I can be, if I walk out just as confident as I've been this entire week, that's a goal in itself. It's kind of sad that you have to then do that afterwards, but I remember that being a thing, and it was just. I remember when I left on Saturday out of the press room, I said, I don't want to walk back into this room unless I have a jacket on tomorrow, and that was pretty cool to walk back in there with the jacket. I wish they let me wear a hat, but they said there's no hat with the jacket, so. Um, That's no, it was cool, man. It was the coolest moment of my life, at the time, and that was a dream come true for me. I mean, every little kid that plays golf and wants to play golf, they dream of winning the Masters. They dream of walking up the 18th hole there, and everyone knows what it looks like, to a standing ovation, knowing that you've won it and being able to just kind of just. I mean, I ended up hitting a chip and two putts and made a bogey, but I didn't care. I was just walking up to the green. I'm like, all right, let's get this done now and move on. And but man, it's just such an emotional tournament that it was cool when it finished and I could kind of soak it in.
Dude, I've often wondered that with both of you guys, the way you were just talking about press conferences, Jordan, being a fan of whether football or golf, like watching guys go into press conferences, it's interesting to me because we don't necessarily have that in my side of the business outside of like one-on-one interviews, but in a way you guys are put on the spot so many times, and a lot like watching these press conferences with the president right now, and the interviewers kind of provoking you in ways to tell your story later. And what you said, Jordan, I think is interesting because I've always thought there's a fine line, I'm sure, for you guys to walk in and seem overly confident and just like cocky, but yet when you are in either one of your sports, I think as a fan and people out there, they're like, they want to see you walk out of that room confident. I've always been interested in that, to see like if you have to sometimes go in there and put on something for them because it is like that they're going to go out there and tell the story after you give it to them, right?
Honestly, in our sport, it's the Masters is the one place where it's massively different from. You just have worldwide media that you see at the Open Championship some and in some of the majors and the players, but in Jared's shoes, it's like, man, it can be, as you know, I mean, and you watch, I mean, whenever I watch an NFL game, it's normally still on TV to watch the press conferences afterwards. And I mean, we're normally softballed questions in golf. The Masters is one of the only places where it's like, let's bring up some drama. because everyone's interested in the Masters. But man, I mean, every game could be week 2 and it doesn't even, make a difference. Jared may have had a great game and the team happened to lose on a ball that was a tip ball on a good pass interception.
Right.
It's like, and then it seems ruthless in the NBA and the NFL. It's a different animal and Jared, you speak to it, but
Yeah.
man, if I sat in there, I'd get so short, frustrated.
Yeah.
Like my answers would be like, yep, nope, yep.
No, I get there where like I and I can tell as time goes on, and Jordan knows this, like the question they're asking is for their story, like
their benefit, right? But
yeah,
yours as well.
But they're asking it in a certain angle where what they're going to write about, so you can kind of walk around the question sometimes. And I've become quite the politician at like answering it without answering it. And, I mean, it's every week. I've done one every Wednesday for, 5 years, or whatever. And then you do one on Sunday as well. And so you get to know these guys, you get to know the media. There's times when it's not going well, they're ruthless and they want to, get their story. And I've always taken an approach of, if you show that you let it get to you, then they win. Just stay steady and just answer the questions nicely and classy, and eventually they'll stop, or eventually they just know they won't be able to get the answer out of you. That's where I'm kind of at now.
Man, can you imagine if they did them for musicians?
That's all I was just thinking.
It'd be amazing.
It'd be amazing. So that one guy that booed like 2 minutes in, what do you think about him?
That would be thank you guys for giving me a great idea, because I'm going to take that and run with it now and do have an interviewer asking about it. Like you just said, Jared, how about the guy that stood the whole show with his arms crossed like this while his girlfriend looked like she was having a great time?
Yeah.
He looked like he hated you. How do you feel about that? Did that bother you? And I'd be like, actually, it bothered me the entire show, because that happens to me all the time. Does that ever happen to you, Kelley? Like, I'll be playing a show. It doesn't matter. It could be guy, girl, something, but there could be, just whatever. However many people are there, 99% of them could be having an amazing time.
And you only see the person. You only see the one person that's mad.
And I'll try, because it's what I'm like, because if I don't get that guy to like me, something's going to be wrong.
We noticed you stumbled over your words on Barefoot Blue Jean Night. Why did that happen?
Yeah. Jake, you missed your A chord there. It looks like you're getting lazy and complacent with your career.
There's rumors that you've been drinking a lot.
You turned around during the set to grab a cup off of your amp. What was in that?
Hey, Jake, what's going on in the background for you, man? I'm like losing half of your hair every time you speed up.
Yeah, well, I went ahead and put this background up, and I've been hosting a little game show with my friends and family and doing a little trivia, man. I got like a little intro, and I'm just like, hey, everybody, welcome to the trivia show here today on a Wednesday, hanging out with KJ, Jared, and my buddy Jordan. And then I give you a couple, trivia questions, and if you got it right or wrong, depends on whether you get the, or if you get the, you know what I'm saying? So I can change it for you if you'd like. But.
No, I like it.
All right, I want to play this trivia game. Masters 2015. What was Jordan's opening round score?
2015. Low. Jordan's opening round score.
Opening round score 2015. Can you give him a hint?
66.
I'm gonna say 68.
You both get new guesses.
Oh.
65.
72.
64.
Whoa.
You guys are mean.
How's that grip, buddy?
Grip changes in, Jake. Thank you. It's nowhere near as strong as yours, but that's why I don't hit the snap hooks. But
I don't even have a strong grip. I've got a naturally neutral grip.
I think it's a little stronger, but it's okay.
So I've got a question. At the AT&T, you guys missed the AM cut, but then without Jake on your team, you ended up moving up 46 spots on Sunday and played out of your mind. Was there anything that you want to share about how that happened?
I mean, I looked at it as I did him a favor. I got out of his way, and he just moved. But I think he would agree. He doesn't need me there.
Didn't play what I would have ended up shooting for the 4 days.
I caught the first. I didn't hear what he said. What did he say?
Don't worry about it.
He said, imagine if you didn't play, what he would have shot for the 4 days.
We play with Dustin and Wayne Gretzky every year, and man, we have so much fun. It is, I mean, we call Gretzky Doc, and he is such a blast to play with. He's just ripping the stogies to start. You know, you're like over your tee-ball on one of the first 2 holes, and you got to back off because there's just a mountain of smoke that just went right into your face. And then, man, it really doesn't, until I would say Saturday, it doesn't feel like a real PGA Tour event, like in a good way. It feels like a lot of fun. I mean, some guys kind of get stuck in the long rounds and aren't enjoying it, but I look forward to that week every year. How was your start this year?
Oh, my start was great. I played with Siwoo Kim. Shout out to Siwoo.
Siwoo!
What'd you guys talk about?
To be honest with you, the dude's an awesome guy. But yes, there was a bit of a language barrier, and it was my first AT&T. So I was nervous already. My golf game isn't that great, as you guys know, and I'm coming in. I think I get 12 shots, so I'm gonna be good at some point. I just don't know when, and I'm hoping he's gonna carry us. So it's the 3rd hole. We're off the back at Spyglass, par 3. He hits his shot into the water. So I stand up, and like the gangster that I am, I yank mine into the water as well. So I walk down there to go chip up in the little drop zone, and Siwoo walks up as well. And it's only my third hole. So I'm still kind of shook by this whole thing. I go and I drop my ball in the drop zone, and he walks directly back up the hill to go drop to a specific yardage, 60 yards. So now I just randomly try to get out of the way and sort of run up this little hill. I don't realize it, but he hits his ball into the water, his second shot, after dropping to a specific distance. So I go down and I chip up thinking that my ball doesn't matter. So I tell his caddy to will you just grab my ball? And the caddy's like, no, you got to putt. And I was like, what? He goes back to the drop zone, chips up, and tomahawks his wedge into the water. And, we had like 6 people.
The 3rd hole, 3 holes in.
Yeah,
it was Jake. He's talking about number 12 on Spyglass. It's got to be
the downhill par 3. Exactly.
Yeah. Number 3 is also a downhill par 3 there, but you can't hit it in the water on that hole. That's the ocean. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
Yeah.
The little short one where like
water on the left side.
There's always like the pizza there, right? Spyglass.
You're right. It's the
12.
other one. 12. Like the pizza is downhill water on the right.
I'm pretty sure, Jake, you shanked it on 12 this year. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
You hit it in the right.
Yo, you're funny. Is that where we're going with this? Okay.
Well, you actually striped it most every other hole, but you happened to shank that one.
Yeah, I did shank it. And
the one that you were talking about.
On the pizza hole?
Yeah, the pizza hole. The grease on his hands.
The grease on the hands.
Yeah.
They don't tell you about the grease on the hands after the pizza hole.
That's what happened. It was the grease on the hands. How's your golf game, Jared?
Getting better. I got down to like 11 before they shut everything down. I'm okay.
Let's go back to that 12 handicap that Kelley says he is. Is he really 12?
Kelley's the best 10 handicap in the world.
Right.
You've all seen me play. I'm terrible.
Yeah.
Have you?
Jared, was that your first time at the Masters last year?
I went the last 2 years.
Last 2 years, okay.
The year prior was my first time. Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, we saw you. Jordan.
You guys were under 18 there. You guys were in the fancy area. Yeah.
I hang out with KJ. I go wherever I want.
Yeah, exactly. No, I hear you. We've all been there.
Like, yeah, I'm with Kelley. They're like, oh, okay, you're good.
Yeah.
So to go back to my boy Siwoo didn't play well the whole week. We had a great time, but his game was really struggling. I was surprised that he didn't withdraw. So he grinded it out for 3 days. No chance to even come close to making the cut after the first day. I mean, it just wasn't there. And we're finishing Monterey Peninsula. And, you guys, when you play, you have galleries of hundreds of people. When we play, we have like 22 people, and probably 7 of them are related to me. And it's 18 at Monterey Peninsula. Long shadows, end of the day. We've been grinding the 6-hour round. he's got a par putt. No, he's got a birdie putt, probably like a 15-footer, sees a line, perfect line, and he just hits a perfect putt. It hits a spike mark visibly that you couldn't see in the shadows, and it just like skids 90 degrees and then goes past the hole. And he stops, and he walks up to the spike mark, and he
I remember you told me.
And he middle fingers the spike mark and screams F you as loud as he can. And all 22 people in the gallery were just like, oh God. And that's
got fined for that, Jordan? Or are you thinking about it? It's like when a tree falls in the woods, if nobody hears it, it didn't make a sound, right?
Exactly. If it's not on camera, he wasn't mic'd up. It's no problem.
Yeah.
So can you tell us exactly how it sounded, Kelley?
We'll have to edit this part out, but
in catering, it was really good.
So this will be edited, but so 15-foot putt. He goes and fixes 2 spike marks, so he's very conscious of like, this is a birdie putt. I need to make this. There's spike marks.
Let's also point out the fact that this is your 18th hole, and no matter if he were to make it, miss it, it doesn't make one difference, right? He's going to miss the cut.
Correct.
This is the 3rd round too, so there.
Yeah, well, it's the 2nd round, so we're at Monterey Peninsula.
But he's okay.
But
Go on.
He's struggling, but we really have no chance. The answer is it's probably 50-50. And so he fixed 2 spike marks, long shadows, and he putts 90 degrees, skips, goes by it, and he walks so slowly, and he looks right at the spike mark, and he goes, and
those are the times where, when you have a bad Thursday round and Friday you're not going to make the cut, but you're playing like Friday afternoon, and everyone around you is having 22 beers watching golf. They're all having a great time. And I hopefully it's rarely, and it has been rarely, but those days where you get the morning late wave and you're out there on Friday afternoon and all you want to do is have 5 beers in the back 9 with these guys, just so you know, unless you shoot 9 under on the 9, you're not going to make the cut. Just go out there and at least kind of get things started. And we just can't do that. It's just not allowed.
How many guys do you think have actually had cocktails during PGA Tour rounds? Are we talking like one time John Daly did, or do you think it's like a little bit more common maybe than we would have thought?
Have not seen it by anybody, but I would imagine I imagine it was more common back in the day. I doubt it's as common now, mainly because of the improved technology, and it's not. I don't know if it's not allowed, but it's certainly frowned upon. But yeah, I think it's more common than people would actually think, but I don't think it's very common.
What about throwing in dips or smoking cigarettes or cigars or anything like that?
That's extremely common. Not cigarettes, but tobacco. Yeah, like dips and stuff. That's still very common. It's interesting because there are some guys who actually need it in certain situations, and then there's some guys who they just that's just like smoking a cigarette. They get to a point where, I'm sorry, when I say they need it, there are some guys who need it, but then there's some guys who actually it's advantageous for them to do it. It calms them and stuff like that, which is interesting. But the big thing now has been guys chewing CBD gum. Because golf's so mental, so you get that you get so much time in between shots. I don't know if you noticed last year's Masters, you saw Tiger and Phil both chewing gum. Tiger visibly chewing gum. And that's not uncommon now, is guys using CBD gum to try and kind of help calm, I guess, a little bit. But I haven't tried it personally, but may have to. It seemed to work for him last year in the Masters. So gambling's going to work its way into golf, and that'll be really interesting in golf, given one individual can actually in the crowd can have an outcome on a golf tournament versus. Jared's dropping back to pass. He doesn't hear some guy in the front row. In golf, it's quiet. Someone's about to tee off on 18 of the players. Like, if anybody has a massive wager on the matchup, and then they relay to somebody to do. I'm just saying it's going to be something that's going to be really interesting in our sport because it's quiet when it goes down, which is probably the only sport that tennis is quiet, right? But that's very reactive. You're reacting to an opponent's shot. Golf is just it stands still, and if you yell it or put a blowhorn at the right time, it's going to mess somebody up. There's just no way around it. So
do you think that's because mentally golfers just aren't as strong as football players? Is there, a reason why that you guys have to kind of pansy out a little bit and stop your backswing when somebody snaps a picture? I've always wondered that. I'm like, come on, man. All it takes is one guy to just be like, let's go. Because that's one thing at Pebble Beach I always notice. Every time the crowd's like, let's go. You guys were like, screw it. And they always hit a good one. You know what I mean? But I guess when you're prepared.
It's a noise, it's fine. If it's when it's quiet and then there's just something that breaks the silence right when you're – I get scared, man. I get scared.
I'm curious how you guys react to the waste management then. Because some guys not like it, some guys like it.
Yeah, I think most players really like it, and then the guys that don't really go play it. I personally love it. Just if it were every week, it'd be like, this is unusual, right? Like this wasn't what I grew. It's isn't the same thing I grew up doing. But like 16, for example, there at Waste Management. I was on the tee this year, and you hear the rising like, oh, and you're like, oh, I better pull the trigger before they get too high on their notes, or else they're just going to be sitting there starting to boo after they get. But that one, it's constant noise. If someone yells in your backswing, everyone's yelling anyways, so it's nothing. It's fine. And then obviously when it goes well, it's really exciting. So 16 this year, when that was happening, there was a huge from the green. That whole it was like the wave, but it was with noise. So it was this crescendo going up, and I hit this cut 8-iron to a back pin on Friday. I had a bad first round. I was trying to make the cut. And it was like my 7th hole. I'd eagled 15, so I was maybe 2 or 3 under on the day. And I hit it to 8 feet, right past the hole, right at the pin. Crowd went nuts. It was awesome. I 3-putted and walked off that green. And Chris Paul was there. The Clippers were in. I'm sorry, the Rockets were in playing. I guess the Clippers. No, sorry, the Rockets were in playing the Suns. What am I doing? And I walk off that green, and I am just getting shattered with boos. He's there. And, of course, one of the Thunderbirds is like, hey, man, this is Chris Paul here. I'm like, hey, Chris, how you doing, man? Good to see you. And then just walk by to 17. Hey, thanks for coming out. Thanks for the support, man. And, man, there is that was my first bogey I've made on that hole, and I 3-putted from 8 feet because I wanted to make the 8-footer so bad. I ran it 4 feet by. And when I ran it by, everyone's like, ooh. And a couple people in the front row are like, he's going to miss it. He's going to miss it. They're just screaming. And I'm just like, oh, man, I got to make this. And then I tried to walk it in, and it missed. Because I thought I hit a great putt, and it broke out way by. So that was even worse. Then it looked like I was just walking it off to tap it in. I'm like, just get me out of here. I played in England when it must have been 2007. I played in this junior British Open in England. I played at a place called Royal Hesketh next to Royal. It was 2007. The British Open was at Royal Birkdale, which was the place where I won the Open. It was the time before that when Padre won. I played in the Junior Open. Girls play against boys. It's just one big field, and I won the boys division. But coming down the stretch, I played against her. She's a twin sister. I can't remember if it was her or twin sister. And it came down to 18, and I needed to make birdie. She was in the group. And to my defense, she is an extremely talented golfer, playing from very far up on the tee boxes. Also, it was blowing 50 that day out there. And I hit it into this fescue, hit this flop shot out of the fescue on 18, this par 5, and missed my birdie putt and lost to her to lose the Junior British Open. And that is my story with her.
What a wonderful story. That's something to write down. That's good.
Yep. It was, and then when I returned there, that's when things got better, when I made it back to that part of the world.
So wait, I like that concept for musicians, like a sports center for touring acts and just artists that play shows. And
that would be hilarious.
And like, cause not to be whatever, but there are a lot of things that go on. Like I could watch your show and I could tell you in 2 seconds, like, ooh, like just bass players not bringing it tonight. Like that, this groove is so sloppy, like not locked in with the drums. And like, oh, Jake is so mad at his monitors guy right now. I mean, he can't hear anything in his ears. He just ripped one out and he's trying to keep it cool. You know, oh, look at that dude in the front row. He hates Jake. Why is he even here?
But you're right. Like if you did it with a bunch of different artists where you had like people reporting on shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, we saw you rip your monitor.
Yeah, like, and we go live now to Shreveport, where Jake Owen just finished at the Smoothie King Arena, and it wasn't a great night for old Jake today. You know, he's had a great tour so far, but boy,
I think he came out with the L tonight. Yeah.
And then do a press conference with you, where just like guys are just asking those antagonizing questions.
Slow motion highlights of like you like yelling at something.
Yeah. Just like they just jump to the highlights of you for the game, you know? They jumped to Jake when he like took a sip out of his drink and then they put it back down.
Zooms in on it.
It could be good. It could be really good. All right, question. To go back to 15 Masters. Jared, you've been to the Masters. Jake, you've been to the Masters. We got Masters potentially in November. What do you guys think, in your opinion, is like your most memorable Masters memory? And do you think that November Masters is going to change anything in terms of what the Masters means?
My easy answer would be, and I watched a lot of golf, and it was really cool to see Jordan win in 2015 because I got to know Jordan through the when we started playing together at Pebble Beach, which was I think was in 14 maybe, right, Jordan? And I remember Steve John, that you all know very well, telling me that year we were paired with Kelley Craft, too, awesome, great guy, we all know. And so watching you win the Masters after getting to know you and see that was just so cool. Although I can say that this past year, seeing Tiger come back, I was with all my friends and like we were watching. Every one of us was just like, God, I hope he wins. This would be so killer after everything. And then he did. And for me, even as a golf fan, loving old young Mr. Spieth here, that was pretty much the cool. It was like Jack Nicklaus when he won when he was like 6 or 44 or something. That was pretty cool.
Right.
I think last year I was there. I wasn't there on Sunday, but I was there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And you know how they sit the chairs out and you can really just kind of sit wherever. And just so happened, me and my dad were together, and we got like a front row on, God, I want to say it's a downhill. It's right next to one. It's coming the other way. It's either 8 or 9, I believe. Phil's group came through first. It was Phil and then Tiger's group. And me and my dad are like on the ropes, sitting there around the green. And Phil had this like off the green, like putt that would have been like on a ridge. And he was standing over it for probably 5 minutes, like trying to decide how to hit it. And eventually you can tell he's just like, fuck it. He grabbed out like his 60. He's like 10 feet from the pin. Grabbed out his 60 and just hit one like 4 feet in the air, straight up, straight down. Like full swing, right in front of us, like 10 feet away. Full swing, straight up in the air, straight down, 2 feet tapping. So seeing that close with my dad. And then right after that was Tiger coming down with whatever group he was in. And I believe he made birdie right in front of us and then went on to win the next day. And just like being able to remember that moment, sitting there watching, you know, the greatest of all time do it.
It is magical. I mean, that whole setting for quote unquote the patrons, there's nothing that beats that in golf, I don't think. I mean, the Phoenix Open is its own animal. I think it's spectacular what they've created there. But on the other end of the spectrum, just in terms of reverence and history and how powerful it is, just as a golf fan, I don't think there's anything like the Masters. So you played in that web.com event, though, and there's this story online, obviously, of some internet troll that was, like, talking trash, and you just went right back at him. What was that whole thing?
Dude, I actually didn't play that bad. I mean, I would have not – the course itself was just not in great shape. I was right behind Angel Cabrera, who shot 86 and then withdrew. That guy won a Masters and a US Open. My 88 at the web.com was pretty bad, but it was due to two niners. I had two niners on one day. And I did talk some smack back to a guy that was like, he kept chiming in like, oh, here he is again. He made another bogey. He made another. And my brother or whoever was caddying for me was like, dude, this guy's lighting you up on Twitter right now. And I think it was everybody trying to prove that like I shouldn't have been there anyways, which I knew I shouldn't have been there. Like
right.
when I walked on the web.com, like hitting balls out there next to people, they were all great. I felt like an idiot. I felt like everybody's looking at me like, oh, here he is. Here's the guy we've all been waiting on to just laugh at. Like, I can't wait. I bet people had bets like that I wasn't going to break 80. You know what I'm saying? But
I did.
My thought was if I went out there and actually played well, like I could, it would have been good. But whatever, man. People forgot about it until you just brought it back up.
But no, I would say though, that's got to be so hard. It would be like anybody else trying to go on your stage and convert. It's not possible.
But
we
it
know
was
it's not
awesome,
possible,
man. Like I can't say this enough that for the PGA Tour to do that for people. I know that there's some fans out there, and there might be people that are just like, hey, that's so stupid they would do that when someone else could be using that spot. And from my knowledge, I don't know if Jordan backed me up on this, but from what they've told me is like, I would never want to take someone's spot, especially in an arena where they work hard for that. But they were saying like the spots are full, other than they leave like an exempt spot like that for someone to kind of bring some attention to the tournament. And I was paired helping Snedeker with his foundation to raise some awareness to bring in money. So when they asked me to play, like I knew I shouldn't be there, but like the opportunity to do that was really cool for me, and I did it. And I would do it again if they asked me, just because to watch guys like these guys that are so good at what they do and just be around that is something that not the average individual gets to do. And even though, you know, I'll chalk up my 88, but it was good, man. I liked it.
Jake, you have any hole-in-ones?
I never had a hole-in-one in my entire life until last summer. It was the 10th hole at our club here in Nashville, Golf Club, Tennessee, and my twin brother was playing with me, and I grabbed the wrong club. I wasn't even paying attention. I grabbed the wrong club, walked up there. I was like, dang, I had the wrong club, and I should have gone back and got the other one, but I was just too lazy, and I was having a cocktail or something, and I choked down halfway. I was like, I'm going to hit – I looked at my brother. He's like, just go get another club. I was like, no, watch this. And I choked down halfway and just kind of like half swung it, and it hit perfect behind the hole and came back and went in, but that was cool, man.
Goff and I played we played last summer, and we had been playing on and off. He was like a 16 handicap at the time, and I had just joined Bel Air, so I was bringing him up to Bel Air later that day to do like this little chalk talk. And so we ended up playing Lakeside with my dad and another buddy. And Goff calls me at 8 o'clock in the morning, tee time's at 11. And he's like, hey man, I just got randomly drug tested. I probably can't play today. I'm like, well, when's the guy coming to test you? He's like, I don't know, in like an hour. And I was like, all right. I'm like, whatever, just call me, let me know. At like 9:30, I get another text from him. He's like, yeah, I just finished the drug test. I'm like, okay, great. You can make 11. He's like, no, I don't think I'll be able to make the tee time. And I'm like, all right, well, just let me know. Just text me and let me know. So I go to Lakeside. Jared doesn't show up. It's just us in a threesome. We go out on the course, and like at the fourth hole, he texts me. He's like, I think I can make it. And I was like, all right, fine, whatever. So I have them call the clubhouse. They hit the pro shop. The guy's waiting for Goff. And he comes out on the 9th hole, tees it up on 10, hits driver. And we start playing, and we're talking about his little chipping facility in the backyard, and get to this par 3, 165 yards. He grabs his club, first one up, boom, one bounce in the hole, hole in one, first one of his life. And I mean, we're freaking out. Everything's so crazy. So we go a couple holes, and we saw like a bunch of guys we knew. We have cocktails. Everything's great. 17th hole. He's like, hey, man, I got to tell you something. And I was like, what? He's like, well, I played in that charity tournament. I was like, yeah, the one yesterday, you, Aaron Rodgers for Cal, that whole thing you were talking about at LA Country Club. He's like, yeah, I only got through like 12 holes, and then I got the shanks. And he's like, I couldn't really finish the round. Like, I just picked up and I just walked with these guys because I literally couldn't make contact with the ball. And I was like, oh, he's like, so when I called you this morning about the drug test, he's like, the guy came at 8 a.m. He's like, but I had the shanks and I just didn't didn't want to come and play golf today. And I'm like, what? He's like, so I went to my club and got a lesson. And he's like, I hit 70 shanks in a row before the head pro who was giving me the lesson had to leave. And he said, I hit 30 more shanks. And then you were texting me. He's like, I felt so guilty for not showing up. He's like, that's why I didn't play number 9 when I showed up. And I said that I hadn't warmed up yet because I didn't want to swing a short iron. And so then he goes around, next shot of the short iron, hole in one.
Wow.
That's an amazing story.
It was nuts. And I didn't tell him the real story for like a month. Like that. This guy, the drug test was real. He did actually come here, and it could have taken a long time, but it was done at – tee time was probably at like 10 or 11, and it was done at like 9 or 10. But I'm like, I'm not going out there playing with Kelley if I'm going to hit the shanks all day. So I'm like, I need to go get this fixed. And honest to God, like since that day, I've fixed my game. But went to the club, and the club pro there is super cool. He took me out like on a fairway, like not on the range. And again, like, I probably hit 100 balls. I probably hit 70 shanks. Like he's like, back away from the ball, you know, open your stance, try to take away this way, take away that way. Nothing was working. It was awful. And so he leaves, like Kelley said, he had to go. He's like, my daughter's I got to pick up my daughter from soccer practice. And I'm like, all right, like I'll figure this out. And that's when I was like, okay, I'll go. And then the very next iron shot was the hole in one. And my club pro, I text him, I'm like, dude, you're not gonna believe it. I know you just watched me hit a million shakes. I just hit a hole in one today. He's like, shut the fuck up. Like, there's no chance. And sure enough, the magic of Kelley, he got me right.
No,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Have you guys ever had any kind of like shank issues or anything like that? I mean, I assume you guys are such good golfers that you haven't, but I mean, has there ever been a little stretch where it just wasn't finding the center of the face?
I watched Jordan hit a 75-yard duck hook drive off number 13 at Pebble. What hole was that, Jordan?
Far though, so it's okay. No, I didn't. I made bogey or double. Yeah, that was 2 years ago. Yeah, that was about as bad as I had ever been hitting it for a stretch. We went looking for a ball for quite a while up on like number 9 or 10, whatever is to the way to the left. It had hit a tree that I've never even seen off that tee box and came straight down. But we ended up finding it and playing it questionably at or over the allotted time. I'm not sure if it was still at 5 minutes allowed or 3 minutes to look for your ball. But anyway, thanks, Jake. No, I don't even have a specific shot I can name of Jake's. There's just been so many of them.
Kelley, how many hole in ones do you have?
It's hard to count, but 0. I feel like I have no chance. There's no way. There's just no way. It's not
Kelley,
gonna.
tell him you've seen a bunch, though.
I am like the hole-in-one whisperer. Like I've seen at least, I think I've seen 6. I've seen my dad.
Every time you
Goff.
come and give me shit on a tee box, we need to start putting you on par 3s. It'd be way more entertaining for you too, because you'd see like, you know, off tee balls, you got a big driver head on a tee. Guys, even if they hit a bad shot, at least they make contact. Like when you come up and you're like any charity event or any PGA Tour event, anyone that's hot, or any event that's hired you, these guys, if they had a 8-iron in their hands, they will not make contact with the ball. It'd be amazing if you were on par 3s.
He was at Riviera.
Have you ever?
He got me at Riviera a month ago.
Kelley, have you ever really can you visually tell that you pissed someone off before? Like with something that was a little you're like, ooh, that may have been a little over the top.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the whole time I'm looking at the guy just to see how they're reacting, and you can kind of gauge like the level of aggressiveness based on their facial expressions. So there's certain dudes, they want it, they're laughing, and then there's other guys where you can see it's polarizing right away. I've never really made anybody mad. There was one NFL owner that will remain nameless that was not into it. I mean, I tried everything, and the guy was not into it. But other than that, everybody's pretty chill. It's usually the guy who takes the round super seriously, who has a super low handicap and should be able to convert and then can't convert. And they know it's only because of me. And which means that, okay, cool, then you are terrible under pressure. Any normal golfer who's like a 9, 10, 15 handicap, they're like, hey, man, it was 50-50 anyways. And most of the time, and we talked about it earlier, I make those guys play better because they're actually not focusing on their swing. They're just thinking about everything else and just trying to be an athlete and make contact with the ball. But there was one pro athlete, and I forget this guy's name. Oh, it was Jared Goff. I don't know if you've heard of him, but it was at Riviera this year at Tiger's tournament, and he was playing in a group very close to Tiger. He was playing with Chris Pratt. They had a huge gallery, and his whole group hit great shots. And then Goff, you want to give him a little breakdown of what happened to you on good old number?
What you're saying, I actually played really well. I shot like an 84 and like actually hit the ball really well. And the only bad shot I had was on Kelley's par 3 with him rapping about like my dog and my family and like in my back. I mean, I hit like a 10-foot like top and just moved on and walked down the par 3 fairway and chipped up and made bogey or something. But
so the story behind, and I know all three of you have dogs. Shout out to Silo Citation 10 Speed. You guys know how important dogs are. Well, Jared's dog has been having some behavioral issues, and he had to send the dog to Northern California so his parents could train the dog. And so he's playing around. Jared's dog's name is Quincy. Beautiful dog, just is a little bit rambunctious. So Quincy's up in Northern California. Jared's parents are watching him play in the Pro-Am at Riviera. And he comes on the tee. Chris Pratt hits his shot. All these guys hit their shot. And then I forget what the line was. It was some silly line. But right in his backswing, I was like, everybody, we got Jared Goff on this par 3. Yo, homie, tell me all about Quincy. And right at the top of the swing, I said Quincy. And you could see him just fully break down about his little puppy that he had to send back to his parents.
Yep, you got me. I that's the first time you got me, though. And I've always been like, I've seen you do it. And I'm like, there's no way that would mess with me. Like, I play sports. Like, this isn't a big deal. He's my friend rapping about me, and it goes. I mean, if you actually hit a nerve, like you can get people good.
Yeah, Jake, you were there all day at Troubadour when we did that thing in Nashville in November. You saw some guys buckle under pressure.
Yeah, I did, dude. There was a lot of people buckling under pressure. You did a good job, though. That was pretty cool, man. I like watching you do that. It cracks me up because that's tough, dude, to just stand there with a microphone and just make stuff up off the top of your head.
So, Goff, Spieth has a gun for an arm. Absolute gun. And Jordan, what are the odds that you could have played in college for football somewhere at some school?
To none. 0 to none. The highlight of my football career was playing the Phoenix Open, the waste management there. I played the Pro-Am with Aaron Rodgers maybe 3 years ago. And on 16, someone threw a football out to him. And the highlight of my career, and I played a long time. I played till I was about 12. And was when he got that football. And he told me go. He said run to the green. So I ran from about like he was walking up. So we were in between the front tee box and the green. So just into the desert. And I ran up the desert, right up next to the green. And he threw a missile at me. And I guarantee you, if he threw 10 more, I would drop 9 of them. But I caught this one, and then turned around and of course, like you're catching it in front of a massive crowd. You drop this. This is what you will be booed tomorrow because you dropped this pass today. And caught the pass and then threw it right back to him. And that's as far as my football career. That's the highlight. It's my favorite sport. It's my favorite sport to watch. I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan, always have been. But as far as me playing it, it's better if I sit on the sidelines.
Do you throw lefty?
Yeah, I throw lefty. I shoot lefty. I play golf righty. I write right-handed, but I do anything like feel related lefty. But anything power, like I hit when I played baseball. I pitch lefty but hit righty. So it's kind of the opposite. Nowadays they're looking for like really solid left-handed hitters. Even though Mike Trout's probably the best player in baseball, he's obviously right-handed. But my dad's all left-handed. My mom's all right-handed. They both played sports in college, and my brother and I actually are the exact opposite in everything that we do. So just name something where it's bizarre.
How do you shoot a basketball?
I shoot it lefty. Yeah. Jared, you were saying when you were talking about 17 there in Tahoe, so you play golf lefty.
I swing a baseball bat and play golf lefty, and everything else is righty.
So it's opposite. You're like my brother. Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up playing baseball, and just my dad put me on the left side and just played golf that way. Yeah. I'm the same way though about golf. Like I should probably stay on the sidelines, but I like to play when I can.
The tour has been in a great spot. I mean, the resurgence of Tiger is massive. Obviously, that's a game changer. That moves the needle for our sport. And the fact that he came back, he won the Tour Championship last year, and then 2 years ago the Masters last year. It puts our sport in actually a really, really as good a spot as we've ever been in. But the tough part about it is, we made our entire schedule is based on not competing with the NFL, because we cannot compete with the NFL for ratings. And then now we kind of have to just make it work for a fall until we get back to our normal schedule. So you guys really ruin everything. I mean, everybody wants to watch you guys. So we're just stuck. You
can tell me.
Yeah. I mean, when you're playing Sunday night, you might relax by taking a little nap, watching a little golf on Sunday afternoon, or maybe you had the Thursday night game, you get the weekend off. I don't know, but
terrific.
Oh, there's Silo. Oh God. Jared, that dog's flown private more than 99.9% of human beings on planet Earth.
Okay.
Never seen a commercial.
Twice in her life. You say hi?
So Jared.
Thanks for going out to play.
Story about little Silo, that black lab right there. We were all in upstate New York at Discoveryland, their property up there called Silo Ridge. And one of the guys who, runs the show over there had a litter of puppies. And so how many puppies were there, Jordan? Like 8, 10?
6, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
6 or 8, yeah.
And they're all crawling all over each other. And this one little one just goes right to Annie, Jordan's wife. And the joke was, we were there for a couple of days, like, oh, you guys are going to take this home. And no, we're not. By the next day, they had already done all the negotiation, the paperwork. That dog was theirs. It was a full-blown, just love at first sight. Let me see Silo again.
Awesome.
Say hi. Oh. Say hi, puppy.
How old?
Yeah, she's a good dog. She's like a little over a year and a half now.
Nice.
So she's really good. We got lucky. We didn't send her off or anything. We got lucky.
A few times.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, ever since I've seen Kelley and he's been on a hole wrapping in my backswing, she has come up, as you are aware of how it affects you. I try and hit really, really quickly before it can.
Yeah.
Which he has now stood on the front of the tee box.
Yes,
to make sure
that's what to me too. I was about to hit, and he stood in front of me. I'm like, I want to swing. You better move.
The best way for me to mess with a tour player specifically is you guys have pre-shot routines, if you know it or don't. Even when you don't think you're doing your routine, you still have a little routine. So all I have to do is mess up that routine, and then you don't know if you're supposed to do your routine again because nobody's ever interrupted your swing like that. And that's how I get the tour pros. That's how I can get you guys to hit a bad shot. That's my only chance.
That's when the beat drops right when we're starting the backswing.
Exactly.
You just hit it right there. Yeah, exactly.
So I have a last question. I want to talk about nerves because it's something that I'm always interested in terms of how people deal with pressure situations. And both of you, have executed at the highest levels of your sport. Are there any times where you felt overwhelmed by any kind of nervous feelings?
In my own sport? No, not. It's never nervousness for me. It's more like anxious. Like I want to get started. Excitement. I'm never nervous. I think you get rid of that by being prepared and just start working and working hard and knowing what you're doing. But it's always national anthem. It's always butterflies and anxiety. You want to get going. You want to get out there. You want to get that first hit, that first feeling. But no, never nerves. Truly, never nervousness. But if I'm standing on a tee box, there's a bunch of nervousness going on. But no, not within football.
Anything for you, Jordan? I mean, again, Masters 2015 or any of the other majors or huge tournaments that you've played in. Has there ever been a point where it's been like, wow, butterflies?
The most, yeah, there's one shot for me where it was definitely the most nervous I've ever been going into the shot. It was the first shot I ever hit in a Ryder Cup. And it was 2014. We were in Scotland, and we were so you hear the crowds right there when you're warming up, and it's there's frost on the ground. We're in Scotland in like October, and you're wearing like 4 layers, but you don't really need to. You don't even need to wear any layers because you're so juiced. Where you actually probably feel it when he's about to run out of the tunnel, right? But we don't get that situation a lot. So it was a 3-wood off the first tee. We had done a lot of petitioning to Tom Watson, who was our captain at the time, to allow myself and Patrick Reed to go off early because it was the best ball session. And we thought we were statistically a phenomenal best ball team, which we were based on that year. He didn't really necessarily want to throw us out first because we were the 2 rookies on the team, and thought that was probably not a good idea to throw out first. We're like, we don't care if it's first or second off the first day, or even if it's the next day. We need to play this format. This is where we'll thrive. And I remember going to the first tee, and it was a 3-wood. I kind of wish it was a driver, but it was the most nervous I'd ever been. I remember standing over it thinking, man, I don't know. I'm essentially closing my eyes and making a swing right now. And I ripped a 3-wood. I looked up. It was going down the middle of the fairway. I was like, man, that was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. Yeah. That was, because that was a different level from anything I'd experienced before. And then I think that I took that Ryder Cup into the next season to create, really positive vibes. Every time I felt anything like that, anything close to that, I was like, man, this is cool. This will create this really cool moment. This is like, I've always approached nerves as something really positive. If you're feeling nervous, it means that you're in the right situation. You're in the situation you want to be in. And you've obviously prepared for it. I've always, work ethic has never been something that I've struggled at. So I've always felt when I feel those nerves, I've prepared as much or more than the person across from me. And therefore, I'm in a better position to do what's, the right thing here. So that was my first big introduction to that. And it was really cool. I've told Annie that, and she actually had for my birthday one year this painting done, because there's a photo of myself off the first tee of Glen Eagles there, and we have that painting in the house, which is really cool, just because I reflect on that moment sometimes.
That's awesome.
Which is, I'm sure, what it felt like at the Super Bowl. I mean,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like national anthem and Super Bowl. It's like the same, like that same feeling. The difference is you guys have much more time in between shots or plays. For me, like there's no time to think really. For me, like you guys, okay, what am I gonna hit here? You're walking up to it. Like there's so much more thought that goes on that builds that. But it's the same thing. Like, yeah, standing on the sideline before the Super Bowl. It's like, I think it was Gladys Knight was singing the national anthem. I could be wrong, but like the flyover, it's unbelievable. You never forget it.
Yeah.
Have you watched?
Yeah, I mean, we have more thought, but at the same time, you have to be reactive. So we can still go through the same routine that we're always used to. Yeah. You get out there and it's like, man, you got to react to whatever they throw at you right there, while you're also kind of trying to control your breathing, trying to control your heart rate. It's very different. I mean, there are times where I wish I was in a reactive sport, but at the same time, being able to have something that you practice and that that's not actually going to change when you go up there, that has its advantages too. So, yeah, I mean, like I've talked to Steph Curry about this. It's like, man, some of the biggest moments when he hits those shots, he doesn't know what the defender's going to do, and that reactiveness frees him up because he knows he can make any shot. But at the same time, he's also not prepared for what they're going to throw at him. And if he has to, you got to audible or, yep, he's got to pass it off to somebody else. I know exactly what's going to happen. Nobody's throwing a pitch to me. No one's throwing a defense that I don't know at me. No one's throwing 2 defenders on me. So that makes it a little bit easier, but you do have more time to think about it too. So it's
Sure.
you know, it's just the way it goes between sports. It's kind of cool to be able to hear different perspectives.
No doubt. So,
Have you ever watched anybody who you've been paired with, specifically kind of when it gets reshuffled on that Saturday or Sunday, that doesn't have a lot of tour experience, and you can visibly see them get nervous by your gallery? Because, I mean, you have one of the biggest galleries on tour, and there's probably a lot of guys that step into that situation who have never played in front of that many people before.
Yeah, I think that's I've noticed that here and there, where especially now, it's kind of weird to think that there are now quite a few guys younger than myself that are on tour. Like it was 4 or 5 years where there were less than 10 people that were younger than me on tour. But now I'm starting to see that, where it's like, and Tiger's back and he's playing in the same tournaments, and so that draws most of the gallery. But there was a time there in 14, 15, 16 where he wasn't playing much at all, and I remember being like, I'm teeing it up and I'm kind of smirking over, because I'm like, this will be kind of fun to watch this guy, whether he's one of my peers I grew up with that was the same age, or he's younger, or even if he's older, and I know he's just hasn't been used to playing in front of that kind of crowd, where I'm just kind of like, oh, this will be kind of a fun thing to watch today. I mean, I was paired with Tiger at Riviera this year on Saturday, and that was just, I mean, it was just fun to be a part of that. I enjoy that. Whether, and I didn't play great. He didn't play well either. But when we got done, it was like, man, I'd play with him any day out there. That's what's so cool about growing up watching him. It's like, man, I've played with you and we both played well. I've played with you and we both played poorly. Either way, and that was an awesome experience. That would be a fun question to ask him.
Yeah.
Because it's been, I'm sure he could name a number of times it's been Sunday and he's looked across on the tee and not known the guy's name. So, yeah. And just been like, well, you're going to get trounced today. It's a different level there.
Totally. Well, dude, thank you guys so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. Spieth, we're both in for your charity event. You just tell us when to be there, and we'll come support. And if you ever want to watch Jared and me play really bad golf, you got the open invite at Bel Air Country Club. Everything gets charged to Goff's tab. It's amazing. It's just
is awesome.
Such a good day.
I owe Kelley for a few, so yeah, you can charge it to mine for the first couple.
Kelley, I don't know if you know this. I actually owe you a couple. We played Monterey Peninsula, the Dunes course, in the fall. I played with Skinner out there, and he pointed out that your parents actually live on the golf course, and we went in and definitely stole a few cocktails out of there. So I owe you a couple next time I see you.
Well,
Skinner's the worst 4 handicap in the world.
Yeah, if Skinner was at 8, he would beat everybody. But he's a scratch drinker. He loves you can do it the cocktails the right way.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Well, thank you for taking the time.
Good talking to you guys.
See you guys.
All right.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Peace.
Peace.